Hi, I'm Doug from Dynamic Computing, and welcome to episode 171 of 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast. First of all, just got back from a 3-week trip to China with my wife, which was absolutely fantastic. This is why you haven't seen me for the past 3 weeks now. We went and explored all kinds of cities in China, met up with a bunch of her family. I met like 100 cousins, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, just overwhelming. Food was good, the travel was good. I'm going to be doing a show in another week or so, showing you some of the pictures from China, but all of the pictures are going to be in Ham 6, and all of them are going to be, in theory, hopefully if everything works the way I plan, generated on my Amiga 1000. We're going to see if that works. If not, I'll use my 1200, whatever. But today, what I wanted to talk about was our good old friend, the PiStorm. And of course, the PiStorm, as many of you know, is a product that uses a Raspberry Pi 3, Raspberry Pi 4 even now, and then integrates with your Amiga. It is a socket replacement, unlike the Amiga 500 and Amiga 2000. It just pops right over the interface pops right over the CPU and works great on there. On the Amiga 1200, it's an actual expansion card. And I've got a couple of videos on the PiStorm, some tutorials, some overviews. All of those will be linked in the description, so you can take a look at some of the old PiStorm videos. In a nutshell, what it does is it takes over the CPU and makes an incredibly fast CPU. It's like running Amiga OS on WinUAE. It's so fast in many cases, just blazingly fast. It adds a bunch of memory, a couple hundred megabytes of fast memory, which is just fantastic. It also offers the ability to use your SD card that's in the Amiga, that's on the Raspberry Pi as a virtual hard drive. You can create these little hard drive files and use that as your hard drive. And again, I have tutorials on how to do this that are all linked in the description. Makes for an incredibly fast hard drive. Now, what has not worked with the Emu68K version of the software for PiStorm. There's two branches of PiStorm. One of them, Musashi, I think it's called. I don't mess with that. It's way too complicated. But the Emu68K is faster, easier to set up. But one thing that's been missing is the ability to use the Wi-Fi on the actual Raspberry Pi in your Amiga and have internet access through the Raspberry Pi. Well, our good friend Michael Schultz, who's handling virtually everything with Emu68K, the guy's a genius. I'll have links to his Patreon below. You can join his Patreon. I'll have a link to his PayPal support if you want to send him a little bonus via PayPal, but definitely support this guy. He does great work. But he's been working on a Wi-Fi interface, a software interface for the PiStorm, and he finally got it working in April. He got it working fairly well, but it would only work with an open network, which means no security at all. But it was a proof of concept, and the darn thing worked. Well, within like 2 weeks after that, he's got it working with WPA encryption, which means while the product is still in alpha, it's not even in beta yet, you can download it, you can use it, and it does work, and it is encrypted, and it is mighty fast. Not particularly complicated to set up, so I'm going to walk you through step by step what you need and how to set it up on a real Amiga. Then we're going to put it through some tests. Follow me. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to update your PiStorm to the latest version. If we go to Michael Schultz's GitHub here, and you see github.com/MichaelSC, you can then go to Emu68K, and you're going to be able to get the latest version, which is 1.0, released on March 20th. Yep, release 1.01, and you're going to be able to download this. Now, be aware that if you've got a PiStorm 32 Lite, which is the version for the Amiga 1200, that's what you want to download, Emu68 PiStorm 32lite.zip, Amiga 1200. Okay, if you have one of the Amiga 500 or Amiga 2000 PiStorms, you want EMU68 PiStorm. Don't get these two mixed up because they are not compatible. Okay. Basically, you're gonna download that and you're gonna decompress that in a few minutes, where I'll show you. The second thing you're gonna do is you're going to want the very latest of his EMU68 tools. Now, these are some useful tools, including the video driver for high-resolution graphics, the retargetable graphics, and the new Wi-Fi driver. You're going to want to go to the Emu68 Tools download page, and again, I'll link to all this in the description, and you're going to want to download the very latest version. Go to Assets. Here you see one from just 2 weeks ago. That is on the 22nd. Nope, here's one from the 23rd of April. Download that file, Emu68 Tools 2024-0423. Of course, by the time you read this, he may have a dozen more out, but we'll download that. Third thing we're going to need to pop on over to Aminet and look up prism2v2.lha. And what that is it contains the Prism driver for our old PCMCIA networking cards, wireless networking cards, but it also has this thing called Wireless Manager. And Wireless Manager is what we're going to use to enter our SSID and enter our WPA encryption. You're going to want to download prism2v2.lha. Once you get all of these things downloaded, we're going to go take a look at them. Now, I created a folder in Windows called Wireless here. And I've got my Emu68 Tools here. I've got my Prism 2v2, and in the previous directory I have my new version of the PiStorm software. Now, I'm not going to go over setting up the PiStorm software in detail, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to pop out your little SD card from your PiStorm, and you're going to go to this PiStorm 32 Lite that you just downloaded. You see it's got all these basic files in here. You basically just copy these over to your SD card that you use in your PiStorm, and it updates it to the very latest version. There's no configuring required. It's just drag and drop, copy it right over to your PiStorm SD card. Then you're going to pop that SD card out, and we're done with that part for right now. Next, you want to take and decompress this Emu68 Tools. And of course, in Windows, just right-click and extract all. It'll decompress it. And then there's different things in here, the video drivers, Emu control. But here's what we're looking for. Emu68 Wi-Fi. In here, you see a folder called Firmware and Networks. Those are the important tools. But we want to copy all of this over to your actual Amiga. Now, if you have an Amiga 1200, you probably have a compact flash card interface, so you can just pop a compact flash card in and copy files over. That's the way I did it, copy them right over. These are a little bit big to copy over via floppy, so making an ADF of these and copy them over that way, that's going to be a little bit more complicated, but you could. However you normally move larger files over to your Amiga, get Emu68 Tools over there, get PiStorm 2v2 over there, and then we're going to boot up the Amiga, and I'll show you what you do on that end. Okay, so what you're going to find after you copy your files over to your compact flash card or however you get them over to your Amiga. In my case, I copied them on my flash card. I've got this folder called Wireless in here. Now I'm going to bring it over to my Amiga, and what I generally do is I'll just move it right into my wireless or my downloads folder here. Just copy it right over. Okay. Then we're going to want to open up a shell, or however you like to run and decompress files. How you do it through the shell. We're going to go to work 1200 downloads, which is where I put my files, and then we're going to go into the wireless folder. and you're going to see a file called prism2v2.lha, and we'll do lha prism2v2.lha. Now in my case, I've already decompressed it, so I'll just overwrite everything. Now we're going to get back to this program in just a minute. But now we're going to go into the downloads folder. We're going to go into our little wireless folder that we created. And you see we have this thing called Emu68 Tools. In here, the important one for our project is Emu68-Wi-Fi. If we look in here, it's got a nice devs folder. So we're going to open up Workbench. We'll open up devs. Look in here. There's two folders. One called firmware. Inside of firmware is just a bunch of control software and control code for the Wi-Fi chipset, I'm going to assume. We need that over into devs. And we also need this file called networks over to devs. It's a folder that contains Wi-Fi pi.device, which is the software controller for the interface. You're going to take both of those. You're going to copy them just into your devs folder. Once you copy them over, if you want to look at them, we can do show all files, and we can look and we can see in networks, we've got a new file called Wi-Fi pi.device, and we can see we've got this fancy firmware folder that has all those funky files in it. Yippee skippy. Now, I use the Roadshow TCP/IP stack because, of course, you've got to have a TCP/IP stack for your Amiga. Roadshow's great because it's currently available. It's being updated. You can also use the older ones like Genesis, AMI TCP/IP. That works fine. That should work fine. Any of your old networking stacks you should be able to get to work. But with Roadshow, assuming you've already installed it, we go into Net Interfaces. Now, I already have one here called Wi-Fi Pi, but you want to bring your own into there and just do a little renaming. And I'll show you that briefly. Roadshow. Under Storage, you should have a folder called Net Interfaces, and it's just got a bunch of the network interface files here that you need. CNET, PLIP boxes, one I put in there, area I need to. Grab any of these, copy them over to Net Interfaces. So, for example, you take your CNET, just copy it over, all right? When you look into your net interfaces, now you'd have one called CNET. You're going to want to rename that to Wi-Fi Pi. Once you rename that to Wi-Fi Pi, you want to open it up and make a few little changes to it. I'm going to use Reddit to open it up, but you open it up however you want to. Now there's a few key things. You're going to want to point device equals to Wi-Fi pi.device. That's the critical thing. Secondarily, most of this stuff will be listed as configure DHCP. You'll see the pound sign will be gone. It'll just say configure equal DHCP, and address and net mask will be commented out with the pound sign. Now, specifically because of the way I have things set up, I'm giving myself a static IP address. I just do that for fun. DHCP works great. But just configure yours, just leave configured equal DHCP, and it'll get an address just fine. Okay? That's literally all you have to do for creating your network interface here. So what we've accomplished so far is we've brought the driver over, we've brought the firmware over, we've renamed our net interface file to Wi-Fi Pi, pointed it to the Wi-Fi Pi.device, okay? That's going to initialize the Wi-Fi device on the Raspberry Pi that's in your machine. That will send all the initialization sequences. Now what we need to do is get that to talk to your specific network. That's where we go back to our old friend, the Prism software. So we're going to go into our wireless folder. Here's our Prism 2, and look at that. She has a handy dandy little installer in there. Let's just clean that up. Yay. because we like things nice and tidy, don't we? We're going to run the install. Intermediate user, proceed. What is your main network's name? This is where you put the name of your wireless network. So if your wireless network is called fish poop, that's what you type in. All right. What is your main network's WPA2 passphrase? If it's like mine, the password is going to be Atari ST is vastly superior to the Amiga. No, that's not right. To the Sinclair ZX81. That's more accurate. When you click proceed right here, what it does is it creates a link to your SSID, and it then encrypts your WPA key and allows you to connect to your wireless network. Now, if you want to see where all of that is actually located, I'll show you where it is. If you go to NVARC and you go to sys, in here you're going to see something called wireless prefs. So run ed wireless.prefs. Here you're going to see network. Here's my actual network, T-Mobile 5G. And here is my pretend one I just created, fish poop, right there. I can actually just delete that. We'll save that and exit. Believe it or not, that is a majority of what you need to do. Let me show you how it connects now. We're going to reboot the Amiga. So now the Amiga is rebooted after all of our changes. Now, you're going to notice something here. When we go to our shell and we do show net status, it's going to show the local address that I gave it. It's going to show my local gateway. It's acting like the Wi-Fi Pi interface is up and running, but it's not quite up and running. Ping 8.8.8.8. You'll see we're not actually connected to the internet yet. And that's because we have not sent the SSID and the protected password actually over to the device. Here's what you do, and this is where that Prism software comes in. Wireless manager space Wi-Fi Pi dot device. Okay, we're calling up the wireless manager software and telling it link it to Wi-Fi Pi device. We do that, and look what magic happens. Trying to associate with T-Mobile-5G, associated with WPA key negotiation completed, control event connected, happy day. So we can just Control C out of that. Now we've just connected. Let's see what happens when we ping now. And look at that, we are on the internet. Now, of course, if you want to, you can put this wireless manager Wi-Fi Pi device, you can have all that start automatically by putting that in your user startup. Not a big deal. The reason I'm not having the network start automatically is because the current version of the wireless software seems to use a lot of CPU cycles, and I just want to start it manually until it's out of beta and into, you know, like a full release. Then I'll probably have it start manually or automatically. Now, what can we do now that we're connected? Let's go ahead and open up iBrowse. Yay. And we'll see if there's anything new on iBrowse Dev. Look how fast that is. This, in the speed tests that have been done, is orders of magnitude faster than a PCMCIA card. Like 5 times, 6 times, 7 times faster. We'll go to downloads. All right, here's a nice file. Well, I'll download the latest version. Work, downloads, and overwrite. Now let's see how fast it downloads that. Look how zippity-doo. It's already downloaded. Geez, the whole thing. Yeah, before I could even look at the download speed, it already downloaded the whole thing. Not too shabby. Let's look at something bigger here. Let's go to Aminet. And again, comes up nice and quick. Let's go to Tenmark. We're going to look for things uploaded by Tenmark. And look at that. The last time I uploaded a video, one of my converted videos to Aminet was in 2018. All right, episode 7. Let's see. Let's do this 25 meg file, episode 5. So look how fast it's downloading right there. We're already down. We've got a meg downloaded. Not bad for a computer that's 10,000 years old, is it? Yep, 2 megs downloaded. It's pretty darn zippy. Now, you've heard me talk in the past about the ability to access your hard drives of your computer or of your NAS drive using the software that I've covered in a previous video, and I'll link to it. This will connect me directly to my PC. Like there's my PC right there. This is all going through Wi-Fi now. And you can see it sees 1.3 terabytes free on my hard drive. I'm able to go in here and copy anything from my PC through a shared folder right onto my Amiga. It is an absolutely cool way to access your shared drives and your shared files. So now that we have the Amiga on the internet using the Wi-Fi that is built into the PiStorm, you can also use the software that I've covered in the past videos to connect to your own personal PCs and copy stuff over. It is actually pretty cool. So we've learned how to get this alpha version of the Wi-Fi driver hooked up to your PiStorm. Probably the biggest complication that you're going to have is getting the files over to your Amiga, but you probably have a solution for that. You can either copy them over the network, copy them onto a compact flash card, take your card out of your Amiga, put it in your WinUAE machine, copy the files over that way. There's all kinds of ways that we do it. You know, I should probably do a video on that, on all the different ways to move files to your Amiga. Put that on my list of 8 million videos to do. How's the setup, in my opinion? Not bad. It's as easy as getting any other network card set up on Amiga. There's always this manual thing where you have to manually copy files over, manually make a few changes. I'm used to it. It's not totally transparent, but it's also not particularly difficult once you do it once or twice. Reliability, I've been testing it for several hours. I haven't had any issues at all with dropping connectivity. I've had fantastic performance. It is truly several times faster than my PCMCIA hardwired network card. It's probably 3 times faster than that. And that performance is actually really good. Beats the absolute dickens out of something like a Plitbox or the Wodem, which I covered a couple of weeks ago. It's so much faster than something like that. Really, really good performance and really adds more awesome features to the PiStorm. Highly recommend that as long as you're comfortable playing around with alpha versions of the software, give it a shot, give it a try. You can't really hurt anything with it. Now, a few things that I discovered about it. I have a mesh network at home, which is, of course, where you've got a couple of different of these little routers. You have them interspersed throughout the house, and they connect through a mesh network, and it just enhances your network connectivity. My PiStorm would not reliably connect to it. It would connect to the mesh network, then it would disconnect, then it would reconnect, then it would disconnect, very possibly because it's actually seeing multiple Wi-Fi signals coming from various places around the house, and it didn't know which one to link to. I could probably tweak some of the settings in my mesh network. In particular, I think if I turned off fast roaming, I think it would probably work, but I just happen to have a second wireless network in the house that is static, just one device. I hooked up to that, boom, works perfect. It does not yet support WEP encryption, but we should not really be using WPA2 encryption anyways. So Michael's probably going to add that in the future for those 3 people left on the planet who are using WEP encryption. Awesome. Now, Michael does a fantastic job. I strongly recommend you either join his Patreon or send him a couple bucks via PayPal to show your support for the hard work he does with the PiStorm and all of the back-end stuff like this Wi-Fi interface. Absolutely awesome. If you have any questions about setting it up, just give me a holler, send me an email, get a hold of me on one of the socials. I'll try and help you out. Thank you to my wonderful patrons who you can see over this beautiful image, which is right now a 1280 by 720 IFF image from a photo that I took in China. The thing's in ham 8 mode, so it looks just like a photograph. It's really nice. Thanks to my patrons. You guys are wonderful. If you're interested in joining, pop over to my Patreon. Links in the description. So please like and subscribe. It really helps. Make a comment. Let me know how you connect your Amiga to the internet. Let me know what kind of performance you're getting out of your Wi-Fi and your PiStorm if you're using it. Just in general, keep in touch because I love chatting over the comments, and it helps the program. Follow me on all the socials, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, blah, 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 blah. Links in the description. But until next time, this is Doug from 10 Minute Amiga Retrocast, signing out.